Hello friends, here's Alok Diaz on Emotional Fridays. I want to continue where I left off last time with this Gate 36 issue as a initiating of emotional awareness and the gate sequencing, why if it's emotional awareness starts in Gate 36, then why are all those other gates, emotional gates before it in the quarter, do they not hold any emotional intelligence by themselves? Well, sure, we know, once the differentiation process of emotional intelligence is ignited, each of those gates has their own quality to add. But my feeling is that initially, no. As I said last time, emotional energy is so much about taking things for granted. Because you met them in a certain way, in a certain moment, and, you don't realize how much they changed until you realize. And actually, when you realized how much they have changed, you have crisis. So basically, the way I see it now is that there is no possibility of developing emotional intelligence of any kind without crisis. So, for example, the quarter of initiation starts with gate 49, the gate of rejection. This is a potential sensitivity, but it's not manifesting. You don't know. You reject something until you have a crisis with something. You don't know you're being rejected by something until you have a crisis with that person or whatever. Gate 30, the gate of desire. You don't know that you desired something until you have crisis. You don't know what desire actually is. You don't know why you desire something. It's not intelligent. It's just a force. It's just a driving force. You recognize you desired something when you have a crisis, either because you didn't get it or because you got it and it wasn't what you expected. It had changed again. Understand, gate 36 is in the channel of transitoriness. So gate 55, spirit, abundance. You didn't know how much you had until you lose it, until you have it no more. When you didn't know having so much more was possible until you met it. It's all happening through crisis. And gate 37, you think everybody's your friend until it shows otherwise. You don't know who is your friend until you have enemies. And it's all crisis. It's when you have a crisis that you see who is still by your side in those moments, that you realize, there's friends, and then there is everybody else. There's enemies. You don't realize what grace is until you fall in disgrace through crisis. So you see, whatever emotional potential for awareness you want to talk about, its potential can truly only be ignited by this incredible gate 36, the darkening of the light, of the gate of crisis, the gate of the possibility of change, not as something that is voluntary, but as something that you are pushed to meet while you're in the flesh, life is constantly pushing you into the unknown and into the constantly changing process of metamorphosis that is life in and of itself. So the deeper I look into these gate sequencing that's there in the mandala, I used to take so much pleasure in looking at the perfection of the body graph and the way the circuitry is there established, how it all fits so beautifully together. I'm taking the same pleasure now to see the beauty, the perfection, and the sequencing of the gates around in the mandala, and I am particularly fascinated with these first 8 gates of the quarter of initiation, because they really are a layout of the way our mind works and what are the basic fuels for our mind at the root, below the level where well, we can see our mind at work, which is really something that starts only after gate 36. So you see, it's crisis over time, and it's only over time that you can recognize progress, that you can recognize something of which the mind, in its own limited perspective, cannot be aware of. But it's only over time. So this over time, also since the increase of longevity in human beings, it also brought about a much longer range of time to experience witnessing, and how much, both for good and bad, this time for witnessing that life gives us is already a natural fuel for our emotional intelligence to mature, to develop, and not necessarily because we like it so often in spite of us, because, well, time brings back at us the painful memories of having time to see and remember the vanities with which we made our decisions, the vanity with which we were facing life all the way through. And for most human beings who do not have a chance to correct the way of being in life, the more time passes, it turns into a bitter experience, into a frustration that you can see crystallizing year after year into the body and into deep, deep disillusionment. It's a sad story. And it's a sad story because, hey, it takes so much courage. It takes so much courage to let change be something that happens, and you cannot just let it happen if you don't know how to keep up with it being yourself. Then you're simply locked in the lack of fresh emotional intelligence. Your mental frames are then locked up in the taking for granted framework of accumulated feelings, of a certain way of feeling, of just a way of breathing and interacting with the outside world that's really not you, in your alignment. So, I would like these Emotional Fridays to be a remembrance for everybody that, to truly live your design, whether emotionally defined or not, in the end, it's truly to find another way of feeling yourself in the way you interact with the outside world. Bueno, amigos, I will talk to you again next Friday. Hasta luego. Ciao.